by Dheressa Dhebu from Jimma University, Director of the Institute of Oromo Studies, October 2024. The land of Cush, the East Africa in general, is considered to be, especially the Great East Africa Rift Valley, is considered to be the land of origin for both nature and culture. Accordingly, different discoveries and archaeological excavations were made, and so many discoveries were made by archaeologists, anthropologists, and other both natural and social scientists. Accordingly, in the Oromo land in Western Hararge and Char, Myosin Chororapithecus dated to 10 million years before present, or BP, discovered in Anjar in 2007. And this is the oldest one, human-like creature. The other skeleton that or remains archaeological discoveries made in Middle Awash, known as Articus Kadapa, dated back to 5.8 up to 5.2 million years before present. That is discovered in Middle Awash. Just in the same manner, chronologically, the Ardipithecus ramides was discovered dated back to 4.2 million before present at Aramis in Afar region. Archaeologists team led by Timmy D.Y. The earlier forms of Australopithecines were also discovered at Belodile, dated back to 3.6 million before present. Makka, Barigazal or Abel, named as Abel, discovered in Chad, and dated back to 3.5 to 3.0 million years before present. And this was the discovery was made in 1995. An archaeologist known as Shannon M.C. Perron discovered stone inflicted animals' bones dated back to 3.4 million years before present aspect at Rikika and Mille in 2010. 3 years child's fossil known as Australopithecus afarensis or Salam discovered at Rikika in 2000 AD and dated back to 3.3 million years before present. Archaeologists led by Donald Johnson discovered Australopithecus afarensis or Lucy or Dinknash, or named as Chaltu in Afan Oromo, dated back to 3.18 million years before present. That discovery was made at Adar in 1974. Ethiopian anthropologist Brani Asfaw and his team also discovered Australopithecus Gari. Gari means in Afar language surprise, at Bor between 1996 and 1999 AD. Other also discoveries were made in different areas of the land of Cush. Australopithecus anamensis, for example, discovered around the lake Turkana in between Ethiopia and the Kenya border. Richard Lewis and his wife Mary Leakey discovered a skeleton named as Zinjanthropus in 1959, and other Australopithecus and Australopithecines named as Australopithecus bosi, Australopithecus ethiopicus, Australopithecus robustus, and were discovered in different parts of the Horn of Africa. The next is the development or in the evolution of human being, characterized by the development of human brain that led to the emergence of the Homo families or Homo genus Homo. Homo habilis, with its artifacts discovered around Gona, dated back to 2.52 million years in 1992, and the Shungura, and also at Kobifora in Kenya, Laotele and the Olduvai Gorge in Tanzania. Homo erectus, which dated back to 1.6 million before present, discovered at Malkakun in Middle Awash, around Lower Omo and the Middle Awash in general. And in Kenya, in around 1984, Dutch hydrologist Gerard Dekker discovered also the artifacts or the materials or the stone tools developed by or created by, invented by Homo erectus, known as Acheulean, whereas Homo habilis created or invented old one tools. Acheulean tools dated by more than a million years and discovered at Kella in Middle Awash in 1963. The next stage in the Homo family is the Homo sapien, the third one, modern or wise human being. Homo erectus means the erected one, Homo habilis, the able man that started to use materials or tools for the production of the basic necessities. Homo sapiens dated back to 400,000 years, discovered at Bodo, Port Kibish and Deltu in 1997, and also in Zambia in around a place known as Kabir. And the different stone tools that were invented by the Homo family species, such as Homo habilis, Homo erectus, and the Homo sapiens especially, such as Sangon Gadimota, dated back to 200,000 years, discovered at different places. For example, at Gorgora, Tione, and Yaballo in Ethiopia, Melidish and the Gurgud in Somalia, and also other stone tools such as stone statues and the like discovered at different places in Oromo land and in the Cush land in general, such as Iya, Tutofala, and Babile, and also in Zambia area or in southern part of the Cush land at Guishe Kafwe. And in the process, especially around 10,000 years before present, human being made radical change or radical revolution known as Nilotic Revolution, that is New Stone Age, that ended, or that is the last stage of the Stone Ages, Paleolithic, Mesolithic, then the last one is Paleolithic, from very ancient, from 3.4 million years before present up to 11,000 before present, Mesolithic before 11,000 up to 10,000 before present, and about 10,000 years ago or before present, human beings produced or domesticated plants and animals and radically changed from hunting and gathering to animal husbandry and the domestication of plants or production of crops. Accordingly, in the Horn of Africa, different species of plants were domesticated for first time, including Insative ventricosum, Ragrot steph, Zosia, that is Nug, Lesna Korakana, millet, and the like. And also animals such as donkeys, and the like were for first time domesticated in the Horn of Africa, while other domesticated animals and the plants were introduced from different parts of the world to the Horn of Africa through the Nile Basin, through since the land of Cush laid or around the valley of Murmur or Nile Basin, and different kinds of indications or indicators of domestication of plants and animals, cattle, sheep, and different products such as the listed plants and animals, and chickpeas and the like, discovered from different parts of the Horn of Africa, such as Lagoda near Charchar in Western Hararge, Gobdura near Aksum, Mbafekada near Agame, Akordat in the Barentu in Ertra. Archaeologists known as Domboruscu discovered different kinds of indicators of domestication of plants and animals around Lalibela cave near Lake Tana, not Lalibela of the Zagwe, in Wello, but in the area between Gojem and Gonda, around Lake Tana. And also discovery made around Lake Basaka near Matahara in Oromo land. And in general, all these discoveries were made from the Cush land, also known as Kusa or Ka or Kam or Ham, whose land stretched from north to south from along the basin of Mormor or Abaya or Nile River, in both the Blue Nile, which contributed more than 80% of the Nile River, and the White Nile that starts from Tanzania, from Lake Victoria, while Blue Nile started from or drains from Lake Tana area. Accordingly, the Kush people, after starting domestication of plants and animals 1,000 years ago, also developed different kinds of cultural developments in different parts of the East Africa, starting from the border of Egypt up to Mozambique, the whole East African countries. In such a way, gradually, the Kush people developed into different ethnic groups with their own linguistic and cultural traits or characteristics. Accordingly, the Kush people divided into different categories. Cushitic language speakers are divided into different language categories. The northern one, formerly stretched from the border of Egypt, covering the whole Sudan, up to the border of Eritrea, now represented by the Beja people, whose language spoken on the border between Eritrea and Sudan. The Agaw, divided into different subgroups. The Awi or Awing, whose language spoken in present-day Goja and in the Awi zone of Amara regional state today. Kumfel, just to the north of it. Kamant, in Kwara. Amtank, around the Lasta. And the plain to the north corner, plain or Bogos in Eritrea of today. When you once, there are lowlanders and the highlanders. And some of them, especially the largest majority of them, the Oromo, at different times, covering different parts of the Horn of Africa, not included only to the east, but not covering or not settling or inhabiting only in the east, but also in the southwest and northern parts of the Horn of Africa. But the lowlanders included, for example, the Afar, the Saho, the Somali, and the highlanders included Ale, Arbore, Baiso, Burji, Darashe, Sanej, Kedio, Adiya, Alaba, Kambata, Konso, Libdo, Mosie, the Oromo, the Sidama, Saho, the Somali, Afar, and lowlanders, especially to the north and the south of eastern lowland, the Tambaro, the Isma, and the Uraz, all meeting today in the southern part of Ethiopia and the Hor, in southern and the southwestern parts. The others are known as the Southern Cushitic, spoken in present-day Kenya, represented by Alo, and in Tanzania, represented by Nibigua. Some linguistics even consider the Omotic as part of the Cushitic, and accordingly, the Omotic included those listed language groups, such as the Amphilo, which settled around Dambidolo, Bambasi, and the Boroshinasha, settled in Benishangul Gumuz, but others all settled around or inhabited around Omo River. Because of this, they are known as Omotic people. Those included mainly the Walaita, the Kafa, the Yem, the Dauro, and the like, as listed in this slide. And surrounded and also interacted in long time with the Semites, who are claimed to be migrated from Asia, from Arabian Peninsula, 3,000 years ago, and the Nilotic, who for long time interacted with the Cushitic and the Omotic at different times in different places, settling between Nile and the Sahara, and settling on the border between Eritrea and the Sudan, and also Ethiopia and the Sudan, up to Ethiopia and the Kenya. And there are also some unclassified ones. For example, Waito are claimed to be either Cushitic or Semitic. In Oromo language, the Waito are resembled with the Wata. Ongota, which is highly extincted or on the danger of extinction, are claimed to be either Omotic or separate Afro-Asiatic family, and the Red either considered to be Bantu or somewhat very different one. But above all, the Cushitic people are the largest majority in the Horn of Africa, in general in the East Africa, especially in the mother tongue speaker. Afan Oromo is the largest one, as everybody knows. Other languages which exceed Afan Oromo are spoken as second language, such as Arabic, Hausa, and Kiswahili are spoken as second language by different peoples in different parts of Africa. Unless otherwise, respect to the mother tongue, Afan Oromo is the largest in African continent, followed by Amharic in Ethiopia and the Horn, and that followed by Somali, Tigray, Sidama, Walaita, Gurage, Afar, Adiya, and the Gamo, the top 10 in Ethiopia and the Horn. This is a linguistic map of the Cushitic people and the related peoples or the surrounding peoples in the Horn of Africa, in Ethiopia and the Horn, and in general in East Africa, together with other Nilo-Saharan peoples. Not only linguistic development, but also there were so many cultural developments that were noticeable among the Cushitic people. Accordingly, they developed all-inclusive systems, those systems known as differently known by different people: the Oromo Gada, the Afar Makabantum, the Somali Shir, the Sidama Lwa, the Gedio Balle, the Konso Salta, and the like. In general, the Cushitic people and the Nilo-Saharan people were known for their all-inclusive, loose, and federative kinds of systems that depends upon or based upon equality of everybody along the line of age and sex and the like. And they were also known for the participation of different categories of the society. And such systems dated back to long time ago. For example, the Oromo Gada, according to the Oromo indigenous expertise and the scholars who studied this indigenous Argatageti or oral tradition and oral information in general, almost nearer to 9,000 years ago, before 10,000 years ago, the Cushitic people started the domestication of plants and animals that was followed gradually with crude form of the Gada system. Accordingly, according to elders, the first one, based on the elders' narration, scholars such as Dr. Gammachu Magarsa put this chronology of Gada, that is okay, that covered about 5,400 years, then followed by the non-Gadas. means that means unknown, mysterious, and a long time, but so many things are not known in the original one. But the non-Gadas, according to the Borana elders and others, and the scholars who studied from there, Aya, Tasa, Munyo, Suftu, Madille, Abroji, Itachanda, Wardain, survived for 9 generations, 40 times 9, 360, and each of them 360 years, times 8, 2,280, and then followed by Gada Borana Barintu or Gada Borana or Walahu from 1450 up to now. That counted for about 574. So when we accumulate it together, or when we calculate together, it's almost nearly 9,000 years ago since Gada emerged for first time. But it passed into different stages to be fully functioning and fully seen with its full characteristics later. For this, the evidence for this is the calendar system, because Gada chronology is based upon the Gada calendar or the Oromo calendar. The evidence for this discovered by different archaeologists, known as Namaratunga pillars, dated to 300 BC, some even dated to 3000 BC, but at least based on the relative dating, dated back to at least 300 BC, discovered in northwestern Kenya around Lake Turkana by Doyle, Lynch, and Rhodes from 1978 up to 1986. That is suggested to represent the site used to develop the Gada calendar, to develop Gada ups and downs. The Gada passed into different kinds of interactions that are different survival and the renaissances or revivals. Based on, together with the Oromo calendar, the culture of Palik stone building was expanded to up to Great Zimbabwe, by which the Zimbabwean civilization is known, about 980. For the communication of the Cushite people, the water bodies, the Gulf of Eden, the Indian Ocean, and the Red Sea were very important for exchange of products to send.
Dr. Melissa, I can't hear you. Are you speaking?
I can't hear you.
I think it got disconnected.
I thought it was on my end, so I joined from a different device, but I guess it's not.
Yeah, he's interrupted somehow.
His mic is still not connected. It'd be nice if the recording is edited, cleaned up, and sent to us. It's really nice. The content is very, very useful. That's a disaster.
Yeah, he's presenting. In fact, he's talking.
Can somebody text him or?
If there is anyone who has his cell phone, can you please reach out to him?
So I'm just very happy to come here to learn the lecture on Cush. And I don't know if it's already finished or it just got started.
It was interrupted. Dr. Dheressa Dhebu had been presenting, but I think he has experience.
Summarize godheetu wannoonni asirraa natti fakkaate kan dhaabbate akka jaaliyyaatoon naan jedhanitti ancient states, one of the ancient states, very recorded states in the Horn of Africa, in the land of Cush, was Punt, also known as Ta Netjeru Caves, that means the land of ghosts, because ancient Egyptians needed the products of this land for religious or spiritual purpose to satisfy or to appropriate their gods and the goddesses. This land is said to have been strayed from Swakim or Masawa to Bab el Mandab or Gate of Tears and Cape Gauda food. The of ancient Egyptian sent different expeditions to this land, started by Pharaoh Saure, who reigned in 30 millennium BC, such as Ebony, Electrum, that means gold and the and the incense and the like, were known for their religious purpose or needed for that purpose. And succeeding Captain Arkov, Senkere, Sesotri, Amenemhotep sent different expeditions to this land under different captains. But above all, the most important one and the largest one was that of Queen Hatshepsut or Hatshepsut, who ruled in the 15th century BC from 1490 to 1468. Her expedition well documented at Dar el Bahir, hieroglyphic, the ancient Egyptian writing, her tomb at Dar el Bahir, writing on that. Accordingly, 5 ships were sent under Black Nubian captain Nehas via the Tumulat to the land of Punt, led at that time by Tereu and his wife Ati, who received the expedition in welcoming manner. Accordingly, they took back frankincense, spices, ivory, rhinoceros, leopard skins, ostrich feathers, and egg, monkeys, graphes, etc., to Egypt to satisfy their gods and the goddesses especially, and accordingly, for example, Suti sacrificed or offered as sacrifice to her god Amun, the sun god, and other products such as iron, bronze, asses, foxes, cattle, far, dyeing, and the medicinal plants were also exported from the land of Punt, while axes, daggers, swords, clothes, necklaces, beads, and other trinkets were imported from Egypt to the land of Punt. The other states, later developed by ancient Kushite people, is known as the land of Cush or Nubia. Was known by the same name of the linguistic groups, the Kush, which was applied to the land south of Egypt with capital at Karma from 2500 up to 1500 BC. Agama jiraga. Hello?
Yes, please
Hello?
proceed.
Are you
Yes.
hearing me? Huh?
Please continue.
Hello? Hello?
Hello? Continue, doctor.
Agama jira?
Hey,
Agama jira?
Yes.
Tufofi.
Okay, thank you. Kush was applied to the land south of Egypt with capital at Karma from 2500 up to 1500 BC. The evidence for ancient or first Kushite rulers can be observed from royal burials at Kuru and Nuri. Around 1550 BC, Egypt was attracted, the Egyptian kings were, or Egyptian pharaohs were attracted by the land of Kush and conquered it. But later, after somewhat 8th century or 7th century, the table turned and the Kushites turned the tables and conquered Egypt in about 750 BC. That had been initiated by the Kushite king Alaras, who ruled from 800 up to 760 BC, whose daughter Tabri was the wife of very famous and successor of Alara, Pie. The Kushites therefore turned the table and conquered Egypt very effectively as of 750 BC. Amenar, the daughter of Kashta Amenidis, established the capital at Thebes and ruled Egypt itself. And successors such as Shepe or Tarako established 25th dynasty of Egypt. That was the dynasty. Ethiopia itself was serving or given for the land of Kush or the Kush people in the ancient. In about 650 BC, when the in Ethiopia or now Turkey invaded Egypt, Kushites and their king Tanuetman returned back from Egypt from Thebes to from Upper Egypt to Napata, that was established as the capital of Nubia or Kush. Then the capital was changed later from Napata to Meroe in 591 BC. It was here that so many things were seen and so many developments in the form of architecture, in the form of literature, in the form of iron production, and so many others were seen. Accordingly, for example, Kushitic king known as Arkamani constructed a temple at Pelae, and the archaeologist Psyche called Meroe, the new capital, as Birmingham, the English Iron Technology Center of ancient Egyptian. just it's compared with Birmingham in the ancient time in Africa, Birmingham of modern time was the ancient Kushite iron center, or was in time Africa. Archaeological evidences from temples of Malinaken dated back to 500 BC, 550 BC, and Musawara Safra dated back to 5th century BC shows that Meroe was a town of considerable size and center of this and innovations or inventions. Sometimes after 2nd century BC, a writing system very unique people, even though it has some kind of similar characteristic with the ancient Egyptian hieroglyphic writing. There are so many unique characteristics or traits of Meroe or Cushitic writing that was developed in Meroe. It was first known from an inscription of Queen Shanak Daketa, ruled from 170 up to 160 BC at Dhaka. Queen Amanshaketa's chapel, dated back to 1st century BC, provides valuable information about Meroitic art and architecture. The major route of trade that connected Meroe with the outside world for importing and exporting of products from Meroe and to Meroe passed through Butana, and Butana was the center of so many kinds of developments in addition to that of Meroe. Accordingly, so many changes and so many developments were made by Meroitic culture, by Meroitic civilization. For example, the underdriven Shaduf was developed or improved, progressed into Kole or Sagyai or buffalo's drawn water wheel, and also water reservoir in such very desert area, collecting or gathering rainwater and reserving or storing it for dry seasons and for cattle, for irrigation and the like. It was very important, and the affair was invented in the ancient Meroitic culture and the development. And even though they didn't recognize it as such, for example, tetracycline is said to have been first developed by ancient Meroitic culture from their local beer. For example, even though they produced local beer for their own purpose and for their own strengths and for as a nutrition, but gradually it showed that different scholars, different physicians considered that it was the beginning of the tetracycline there. In mathematics, they also developed geometry through trigonometric, and in military, they also developed different kinds of tools and armaments, such as bows, arrows, and the technique of siege, or surrounding the enemy and putting into trouble the enemy. And also the architecture, so many other developments, so many other constructions and architectural developments were made in Meroitic and in general Nubian or Cushitic civilization. For example, Mudbreak Temple, known as the Fufa, and in general, so many developments were seen as sections of civilizations of ancient Meroitic culture, Napata or Napata by ancient Nubian, ancient Egyptian, who is Egyptian, ancient Egyptian. My king Izana from 320 up to 360. Later, Nubia became popular with the coming of Napata tribes from Darfur in around 5th century AD. And as the base for later technological developments, Meroe, the center of Cush or Nubia, served as very important center of different kinds of innovations and developments. Just in this very difficult situation, I've tried to show you this, and with this ancient civilization of the Cush people characterized or can be reflected in such a way. Thank you very much, but sorry for the interruptions made because of the technical problems. Thank you very much. That's all from my part.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Dheressa. Really, it's a complex and broad topic, but you've navigated through it successfully, and thank you so much for that. We know this concept, this topic is really broad. We understand that, and but in this very brief, short period of time, he has shared with us a lot of things, a lot of knowledge, starting with the history of human origin, right? It originated, and as he rightly said, humanity originated in Africa, and specifically in the Horn of Africa, in the land of the Kushite peoples. And the first, like he touched on, Homo sapiens, the first fossil that resembles us date back around 3.2 years, and whose name is Lucy, right? Or Chaltu in Oromo. So Dr. Dheressa really touched on almost every aspect of the Kushite civilization, Kushite peoples. He touched on Kushite societies and cultures. The fact that these peoples have diverse cultures and languages. And he rightly located Oromo, the largest ethnic group, the largest nation in this Cushitic group or category, the largest ethnic group in the Horn of Africa. And in fact, the language, like I said, are widely spoken in the Horn of Africa. The single largest ethnic group in Ethiopia. And in fact, Oromos we know also live in northern part of Kenya. And he also touched on the economic system, or economic organization of these societies, right? These peoples, this civilization, that they were agriculturalists, right? The fact that they domesticated animals and plants, that they were farmers, that they used irrigation, especially along Nile River, that they were, animal raisers, and especially horses, right? In fact, they kept cattle, donkeys, like he said, and also horses. Horses, in fact, has a special place in this civilization, in this Cushitic civilization, ancient Cushitic civilization. And you can ask why and how. And, you can relate this culture of horse raising with that of the Oromos of today. We know Oromos have really special place for their horses. And horses had special place during that ancient Kush civilization. That's what I really want to stress. And also he talked about these kingdoms, right? States. The fact that they used to shift from one place to another. From Kerma, he said, shifted to Napata or Nabata, right? And then finally, ultimately to Meroe. And in fact, Meroe is the last right, center where the kingdom of this Kush civilization collapsed. That was the final because of the invasion by the Aksumite kingdom. And also he talked about Gada system in relation to this. And in Oromo oral history, our elders, our historians, philosophers tell us that before Gada, there were kingdoms. Oromo used to live in kingdoms. Oromos had kings and queens. And you can ask, is there, could we relate this Oromo history, oral history, could we think, assume that those kingdoms at Napata, at Meroe, at Kerma were also ours, right? Before the emergence of Gada, before the development, invention of Gada, because we believe that we had our ancestors used to live in kingdoms, in kingdoms, and used to have kings and queens before ultimately evolving to a democratic way of life under Gada system. And importantly, he talked about technology. Dheressa talked about technology, about innovation, handicrafts. That during that time, people used to make, melt iron, made different types of ceramic, made potters. They made different utensils for their household consumption. And in fact, they also they could also produce textile, especially linen, which they used to trade with peoples near and far. In relation to this, we can raise about trade, about commerce, right? That the Kush of them used to travel long as far as China and India and exchange these commodities with them. Iron products, especially iron goods, ceramics, knife. And Dr. Dheressa also, talked about language, right? The fact that Egyptians and these Kush people living in the kingdom of Kerma and Napata used to use the same writing script as the Egyptians, hieroglyphics. But those of the Meroe developed their own writing styles, right? Orthography. They created, invented their own orthography, which was different than their ancestors or Egyptians used. And religion, importantly, right? Religion. That these people used to have temples, that they worship their God, that they came together, gathered in temples, and communally worship their God. And in fact, the fact that they believed in the afterlife, And there was, I'm not sure if Dr. Dheressa is aware of this, but I read that somewhere in some source, I read the fact that ancient Cush people had sacred lake, right? Sacred lake, to which they, you know, on which they made rituals. And this lake, you know, looked like that of Recha, right? Can we, you know, can we relate it to Recha? Because they diverted water from Nile and then made this pond, you know, lake. In fact, nowadays it's the center of one of the centers of these tourist attractions in Egypt, close to Egypt. And this was made by Kushite people. And also you touched on really ostrich, right? And we know in Gada system, the place of ostrich feeder, very important. And also our ancestors used to use these feeders, ostrich feeders, and it had a special place also back then, now only now. Calendrical system, their knowledge in astronomy. They had really education system, right? Especially those that settled in Meroe had even well-known library. And people from near and far used to go to that library, including the Greek philosophers. And architecture, right? Building, the knowledge about architecture, the pyramids, the palace that they built. And very important information you shared with us, you know, regarding the civilization of Meroe, the final stage of Kush civilization, where they achieved industrial revolution, the revolution comparable to the British Revolution, you know, we know in history, right? So which dates back 100 or 150, so, you know, which came into light around 1850 in England. So back then, our ancestors, the Kushites, based in Meroe, had already achieved this progress, this advancement. Industrial revolution. So, like I said, it is really broad and wide topic, but Dr. Dheressa has managed to cover these most important topics, aspects of Kush civilization. And I really thank him for doing so. And I think now is the time for Q&A. So you can text us or you can ask your questions, you know, directly to Dr. Dheressa. Or if you have comments or suggestions, you are also welcome to do so. So with this, I leave the floor for the Q&A. So yeah, please, those of you have questions, please.
Can I speak?
Yes, Arjatani, Gafika, yeah, Teso, okay.
Yeah.
Yes, please.
Before we proceed with the questions and comments, can we finish what we started with Ad Aki?
Okay.
Dr. Daniel.
Yes.
Can we proceed with Dr. Daki?
So Dr. Daki was planned to introduce Dr. Dheressa Dhebu, right? But she was not able to join.
No, she was assigned to introduce Dr. Alamayo, actually.
I see. Yeah, that's right. So what do you expect her to do now?
Well, can she elaborate on your introductions if she has anything to add
Sure.
if she has anything to add to your introduction, and then go ahead and say something about Dr. Alamayo before we go to the questions.
Yeah, so Aki, we are talking about you. You are supposed to introduce Dr. Alamayo.
Yes.
And also you can discuss about why you learned it and the time that you spent in Borna, your observations. If you want to say more about your studies, and also take the chance to introduce to say something about his being.
Okay. Yeah, I'm really sorry again for missing the beginning of the seminar today. But was Dr. Alamayo introduced somehow?
No.
Yeah.
Not at all.
I don't think it's really be worried. We can skip that part, and if you have any say about the topic and this discussion, you are really welcome to do so about Cushitic civilization, about the peoples of Kush, Otherwise,
Okay.
we don't bother you. I mean, yeah, if you free to just share anything you have with us, you're welcome to do so.
Okay, thank you so much. So I do not have a lot because I joined quite late, and I only had like a very basic knowledge about Kush civilization and Kush people and the history connection between Kush and Oromo. But I was very happy to learn something. So I'm just very happy here to learn, and I do not have a lot of questions at the moment. And Dr. Alamayo, I'm so sorry that I didn't get to introduce you, but I did notice that you did a lot of work on the Gada system, and you spent a lot of time with the pastoral community, also agri pastoral places, and did a lot of field work. And I'm really looking forward to know a little bit more about your research.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And then the floor is back to the audience.
Yeah.
Aki, how do you get interested in the pastoralist community, and when did you hear about the Borna people? How did you end up going to the Borna?
Okay, so before I did my PhD, I spent some time in Nairobi in Kenya. It's been a while, but I spent some time in a gold market when I had a lot of people migrate from Borana area to work in Nairobi. So I met people from Borana region at that time. And then when I chose my PhD topic, I thought I want to go to that place where people were from to know a little bit more about livelihoods or people had with animals, so primary cattle. And I went there. I was very lucky to meet Chaitanya Dida, and then he introduced me to the people and the culture there, and I stayed there to do my field work.
Thank you.
Interesting. And if you don't mind asking you, you are given this really beautiful name, Aki.
Yeah.
I would know, the meaning, and how was it given to you? And if you don't mind sharing with us.
Yeah, sure. Ducky is a beautiful small mouse, right? It was given.
Dr. Lamayo, let Daki introduce herself in Afan Oromo. Some question about you. What about you, question? Daki
Okay.
try to introduce in Afan Oromo.
Okay.
Okay. Oh, I can only do a little
Hello, Golden
bit.
Data.
Afan Borana
Eh?
tiko toko pena. Duri ani waga toko fi lama la Borana tai PhD karate makankia daki.
Aki, yeah.
Yeah, jati toko masabi makana bas.
Beautiful name.
Yeah. And yeah, so it was one day I was in Masabi. That was a little bit before my time in Borana. And then I met an old lady and she took me around and then she started to call me Dake. And I just followed the name. I don't know why she called me Dake, but I just followed her wishes and keep the name.
He's really very beautiful name. And in fact, this name reminds me, and I'm sure as a Oromos, of Oromo worldview, right? The worldview that sees and understands, animals and plants as integral part of their ecosystem.
Yes.
And, yeah, we respect animals, we respect animal life, animal plants. In our worldview, we don't see ourselves as completely isolated from our environment, from our ecology and animals and plants. We all constitute part of, together part of our ecosystem. And Aki. So yeah, it's a really very beautiful name. And this not only, in fact, there are so many names, Lencho, Ejerso. We usually give now just personal names like that, but also clan names, right? Aroresa, Orana, for example, and then Dambitu. This is part of our worldview, and this is part of our philosophy. Yes.
Yeah, that's something I'm still learning. And I don't
Yes,
see
and in
someone
fact,
else.
this word is studying, and yes.
Yeah,
In fact, this is yeah.
Yeah, and I think I also feel we should give the floor back to Dr. Dheressa, and if people want to ask questions about his
Yes.
talk.
Yes. Questions and answers, please. Yeah, the floor is for Q&A, just like we said. And thank you, Dr. Daki, for coming here and be part of this presentation session. So yes, back to the Q&A. It looks like everything was clear, right? Or no question. Even if you don't have question, you can raise suggestion or comments for Dr. Dheressa.
Dr. Dheressa, if I may ask, you have listed the communities who are the Cushitic, and also you stated about the Semitics, and I was a little confused. Are the Semitics listed to give a context, or they are also part of the Cushitic society?
Shall I answer immediately or
Yes,
collect
please.
together?
Yes, please.
Okay. Of course, both. There are arguments that there is no Semitic in Ethiopia and the Horn except Semitization. Culturally, linguistically, there might be Semitization, but blood-wise or in ethnic-wise and race-wise in general, there is no difference between the Cushitic and the Semitic and the like. If you take, for example, even the official language of the country, Ethiopia, Amharic itself has more than 40% Cushitic words, including words related to crops, words related to plants and animals in general, and so many others who had been claimed as Semitic are recently refuted to be Cushitic. Therefore, it is very difficult, even some argue that to call these people as Semitic, because both linguistically and racially and the like, these people are highly related, even though there are cultural dominations and the Semitization and the like are there. The claiming of the Solomonic dynasty and the related with that, the coming of the Abashat and the Agazian from Arabian Peninsula 3,000 years ago. And again, more than that, some argue that since the Horn of Africa, the land of Cush, was the origin of all people of the world, so even those Semites came back from Arabia to their origin, first across the Bab el-Mandeb, and some others across Gibraltar, moved to other continents, but later that moving was in millions of years, around 1.6 million years before present, during Homo erectus. Later, after so many developments, after domestication of plants, the elder people, or the majority, and also the people who developed there, and their land, their credit land is from Sudan up to Tanzania, not anywhere else. But others, even those who are said to have come back from Arabia to their original land. So in such a way, there are arguments. And also, I put it just to show the context. And in the case of Omotic recently categorized as independent linguistic group, or language family, but formerly Bender and others categorized the Omotic as Western Cushitic. So it is because to show that, and to show that very long interaction, as a result of interaction, so many kind of mixtures and so many kind of syncretisms, religious, in cultural, language, and the like were met. I put it both to show the context and to show also that they are highly related. Of course, in the superfamily, they are the same, because Afro-Asiatic superfamily consists of Semitic. Afro-Asiatic is derived from Africa and Asia. Majority of linguistic groups and were in Africa. There are 6 categories under Afro-Asiatic. Only Semitic outside Africa. Others, ancient Egyptians, Berber, Hausa, Omotic, Cushitic, Semitic are only Semitic live both in Asia and Africa. So it is to show that they are highly linked, and also to show the context, and to show they were highly in interaction across ethnic and religious diversities. The peoples of Horn of Africa highly interacted and integrated for so many years in the historical processes. So that is the case. Thank you.
Thank you. Another question?
I have a question.
Okay, Abjatani, right? Okay. Yes, please.
Yes.
Are you speaking? I'm not
I-
My question,
No.
I want to thank all of you, especially our scholars. Really, we learn a lot from you.
Hello.
Yes, yes. Yes, Ndagamu.
Nutti hin dhaga'amaa iyyoon kee.
Kasi
Hin dhaga'amaa Dheeressa.
Dr.
Kan keelleen dhageenya, kan abjaataniilleen dhageenya.
Yeah, before
kana fudhatanii dhagaan jiran.
before asking my question, I want to thank you, all of you, especially Kalamayo and Dheressa. Really learn a lot from you. My question is one. I think this very short. I want to some hint, especially Cush common character or between Cush civilization and the other ancient civilization in the world, especially like Indian civilization, Chinese, American civilization, ancient civilization. Is there common character or similarity with the Cush civilization? Dr. Dheressa.
Okay. Thank you. Yes, there are so many similarities, and also there are so many unique traits or unique characteristics. Accordingly, for example, writing system developed in different parts of the world, cuneiform in the ancient Sumerian, lithography in ancient Chinese, and also others among the Indian Sanskrit script was there, hieroglyphics in ancient Egyptian. There were writing characters in the writing systems in the development of the script, but scripts were there in other parts of the world also. The civilizations themselves were developed along the river valley, that of Sumerians around Indians Indus Valley, and the Egyptians around Nile Valley, and that of the Kush was also.
Maybe to say a few words about on the questions you raised regarding similarity and differences between and among these ancient civilizations. We know there were few centers of civilizations, especially, and one of those centers of civilization obviously was this Kush civilization, Egyptian civilization. This civilization was one of the few centers of civilization that humanity had ever discovered or achieved, and the other being, like you said, the Chinese civilization, Indian civilization, and Greek civilization, Roman civilization. But generally speaking, in fact, yes, there are similarities, and also these all civilizations that had their own unique features. As parts of human civilization, human society, these all societies share what other all human societies share together, and especially these universal human social institutions, right? Social institutions like family, religion, we discussed earlier, right? And political systems, political organization, economic systems, technology, right? All human societies share these all features, but they have their own specificities also. If you take, for example, political organization, political systems, yes, they have political organization, but some sites have lower level, elementary type of political organization, like band, some others have complex. If you take Gada, for example, in other sites, Kush civilization, for example, they had kingdoms. You may not have kingdoms in other societies with these civilizations. So agriculture, domestication of animals and plants, common among these civilizations, early civilization, in fact, and the same is true nowadays. But what kind of crops they cultivate? In the case of the Kush civilization, for example, Dr. Dheressa mentioned millet, right? But that may not be true in Chinese civilization, or Indian civilization, or in Rome civilization, Greek civilization, because one, it could be limited by the ecological factors, geographic factors, climate, right? So what other societies, other civilizations have, and not present in other societies. So in fact, you create these culture patterns and culture systems as a response to your needs. Those needs could be economic needs, or political needs, or social needs, or religious needs. Generally speaking, societies have, not only just these civilization societies have similarities that they commonly share with one another, and also they have their own unique features. Like if you take, the Oromo, they have Gada. In fact, Gada is also more or less shared with other neighboring societies, especially the Kushites and the Consul. So yeah, I'm not sure if I've answered your question, but that's what I can say regarding your question. Thank you. Okay, another question, please.
I have a question.
Yes, please. I think Dr. Dheressa is also back. Yes, please. Poteso.
Yeah, my question is regarding the dispersal of the Cushitic peoples. We often hear that the Cushitic is confined within the East African region, but I came across a very interesting material recently regarding a people, the Ga or the Dangme people. The Ga or the Dangme people migrated from ocean area in Yemen between 672 to 525 BC, and they crossed Nubia and settled in present-day Nigeria, and finally settled at the Shai Hills around 1000 AD. The Dangme or the Ga are akin to the Akan, the Iwe, the Mole, and the Guan peoples. Na in Ghana is the title of the leader, like the Abba Boku in Oromo. Over time, the word was expanded to mean the land or territory inhabited by the Ga. That is how today's Ghana evolved into the name of the Ga country, according to this literature. So my question now is there any further relations beyond the East Africa of the Cush, because I read in other literatures that the Fulani, for example, share lots of features that are very, very common to the East African Cushitic societies. Dr. Dheressa or Dr. Alamayo can deal with this question. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Can one of you or both of you answer?
Dr. Dheressa. Okay, maybe I will try. I am aware of these people called Akan. They're settled in Ghana, and they are one of famous peoples in Africa, in African ethnography. But I'm not sure if I've come across this literature you are alluding to. But I'm aware of these people, and especially they are known in Africa, in African ethnography, for their religion, complex religion they have, especially the symbolism that they have in that religion. And obviously, Africa, all humanity is originating in Africa, and there is no dispute, right? This regarding this claim. White or yellow or brown or all humanity, all human populations originating in Africa. So we can claim, we can assume that the first couple was black, right? So it is not like white people originate evolved from black, or yellow people evolved from black. They all originated in Africa, and when they moved out of Africa, they split. And in fact, that took thousands of years for one population to split from the other population and then fill this world. So the origin is Africa, and Africa, in fact, the Horn of Africa. And we can assume that that first couple was black people. And in fact, according to our worldview, the worldview of Oromo, the first people, the first couple were created by God and Tabu and Abau, right? And then, in fact, here comes the importance of Oro. Most of us not really aware of this important name concept in Oromo worldview, Oromo, Horo. For Oromos, Oro is Oromo's version of Noh or Nuh. Noh in Christianity, or Nuh in Quran, I think. So all humanity originated from Oro. Oro is not only our ancestor of the Oromos, but also the ancestor of all humanities. And this is there in Oromo worldview. And so the Akan people shouldn't surprise us. I mean, there are so many people. This Cush civilization is the civilization of black people. Not only limited, confined to today's Cushitic peoples who speak these Cushitic languages. I don't think we should we need to restrict to today's Cushitic people. Cushite civilization, if we are aware of, narratives in the Bible, in the Quran, Noah has, 3 children, right? Japheth and Shem and Ham. And then from Ham, Cush. And this Cush, that populated Africa, black people, that the Greek translators, when they first translate the Bible from Hebrew, used the word Ethiops, meaning black, and Ethiops, in fact, it is a racist word. It's a derogatory word. It's an ethnocentrist word, because what they meant with that was people with burned face. So what does that mean? That means, or that refers to all human population, black population, including Akan, including all peoples of today and past, including all Omotic people, including all black population living in Africa. So people are, move from place to place, migrating from place to place, and have had interaction, contacts with one another. So this is what I can say on this. Maybe Dr. Dheressa can add some more on this question if he has. Dr. Dheressa?
Well, the question actually is associated with a literature I came by recently about the Dangbe River, the Dangbe people who are said to have migrated from Goshen area in Kenya westwards, crossed Nubia and settled in present Nigeria, and then they moved again and finally settled at Shai Hills in around 1000 AD. The Dangbe or the Ga are akin to the Akan, Iwe, Mole, Guan peoples. Na in Ga language is the title of their leader, like the Ababoku in Oromo. Over time, the word was expanded to also mean the land or territory inhabited by the Ga. That is how today's Ghana evolved into the name of the Ga country. My question now is, does this imply, other than the general information just mentioned, that the source of humanity is in East Africa? Other than this general notion, is there any cultural, historical indications that there are other peoples beyond the East Africa area who exhibit some kind of cultural, linguistic characteristics associated with the Cush peoples and the Cush civilization? And I particularly also mentioned Fulani as one of the cultures that are akin to the Cush. That was the question.
Okay, thank you, again, I think I didn't hear well, because I think it was with you or with mine. There was this internet connectivity problem. There was, I didn't fully hear those all questions. I only heard the question you asked it about ICANN. That's why I focused on that one. Okay. Yeah. What I can say is, these all things, we can fully say we are at the stage where we know every thing about all societies, every society in Africa. But like I said, especially during the final stage of Kush civilization that ended in Meroe as a result of invasion by the Aksumite kingdom. It is believed that these societies might have dispersed in different direction, not only in one direction, eastward, but also westward, southward, right? And it could be, one of those societies that moved east or west and southwest could be this society, the Dangwe society, Dangwe people, you said, right? So during this time, they might have moved westward and moved until they arrived at their current destination in Nigeria. I read about these people a while ago, and I realized that their dressing style looked like that of the Oromo, really very impressive. And but they are small in size, really very small. But they have their own unique language and ways of life, and their unique, very impressive, attractive costume dressing style. And I think this is the people you are talking about. And yeah, would be was dispersed, right, during this collapse of the civilization. Fulani again shares a lot of features with even contemporary tribe peoples. But like I said, a lot to be studied, a lot to be unraveled and discovered. Yeah, I think that much is enough. Okay, another question, maybe Dr. I think Dr. Dheressa is around. Dheressa, can you hear us? Dr. Dheressa? Okay, but I can see his name. I don't think he's hearing us. Okay, so if there is any, person with question and thing is, I should ask this question or, give this suggestion to the presenter. You are welcome. Otherwise, we will move to the end of this presentation. We will close the presentation. But I can give one or two questions. Sorry. Somebody was saying something. Was it a question or? So can we say there is no more question? Okay. Okay. Thank you so much, Dr. Dheressa. If you can hear us, thank you. Really, we have learned a lot from your presentation, from your knowledge, and we really appreciate that. So Now the floor is back to Oboteso. Is that
Dr. Daniel.
okay? Dr. Daniel.
Are you there, Dr. Daniel? Okay, we conclude our presentation here, and we our heartfelt thanks to those who presented it and those who participated. And we hope we will soon come together again on another topic and by other presenters. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. See you next time. Thank you so much.
See you everyone. See you next time.
Yeah. Naga.
Nagawakan.
Yeah.
Nagarola.
Naganola. Anan mo wana tamar unatus.
Ya nane safu na bisan dubi.
Aye. Beka su kochola.